Hey, what's up? This is Mr. Ippolito. Today we are going over the Bill of Rights scenarios quiz. Let's jump in so you can understand each one of the scenarios and why they are the way they are. All right, moving into scenario one. Texas School District allowed student-led prayers during the morning announcements to pray for the team every Friday before high school football games. This was actually happening on the morning announcements. It was also happening, and I think this where it got brought up in the Supreme Court is they were getting on the microphone during at the beginning of the football game, and students were leading the entire stadium in a prayer to pray for the football team. Some students and parents objected, arguing this is a government endorsement of religion. This was a real Supreme Court case, and the answer is the government is violating the Constitution. Now, many of you said, but wait, Mr. Ippolito, it was a student-led prayer. What's the problem with this? Here's the difference. If you are leading a prayer in the core the core is that way, or I meant to say in the quad. If you're leading a student prayer in the quad, if there is an event once a year called Meet Me at the Flagpole, where Christian students from various campuses all over the country will gather early morning around the flagpole and will pray for the school, pray for a good school year. If you are doing that privately, just within your group, it could be 10 or 100 or, however many students are praying. If it is truly a student-led prayer, that's fine. But the difference is that in this case, they were using school district resources, right? So when they got the microphone at the football game and are now using school district resources to lead a prayer, that is the difference. So, for example, here at Rio Norte Junior High School, if my Rio TV students were like, "Good morning, Riverhawks. Let's start and bow our heads in prayer. Dear Jesus, let us have a wonderful school day today. Amen." You can't do that because it is using school district resources. So that was the difference. That's why, in this case, the government is violating the Constitution. It's the First Amendment. It's freedom of religion, specifically Establishment Clause. The Establishment Clause says government shall respect no establishment of religion. That means that you can't use taxpayer dollars or taxpayer resources, like public school resources, to promote one particular religious group. That is why that is what it is for scenario one. Scenario two, 16-year-old Madison is arrested by police and charged with assaulting. Basically, it comes down to the judge refused to allow Madison's lawyer to have the Starbucks baristas testify in court. So what this comes down to, yes, the government, because it's the judge who is representing the government in this case. It is the Sixth Amendment because you have the right to have witnesses in your favor. You also have the right to confront the witnesses who are speaking against you, right? The ones who are, you have two rights when it comes to witnesses if you are accused of a crime. Number one, you have the right to face the people who are accusing you of a crime. And then number two, also in the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to secure witnesses in your favor. I would also accept if you said something like Fifth Amendment due process, their right to a fair trial, that was not fulfilled or upheld, I would have accepted that as well. So government is violating, specifically it's the Sixth Amendment, the right to secure witnesses in your favor. That is the most correct answer. And as always, if you have questions, talk to me, because I want you to understand this and I want you to fight for it. If you think that there's something worth fighting for, like, hey, Mr. Ippolito, I think I really actually got this right. Scenario three, security guards at the Valencia Town Center escort a group of teens off mall property claiming, "You guys have been hanging out here long enough. It's time to go." They're a little rude and sassy. The rude and sassy really doesn't matter. Here is the point. You have the right to peaceably assemble on public property. That is true. But the Valencia Town Center, I think there was a very similar case in the Ed puzzle. So if you did the Ed puzzle, I think you already knew this. Your right to peaceably assemble in a public space only is like a public park or on a public street. This is private property. The Valencia Town Center is owned by the Westfield Management Group, which means Westfield, it's their private property. Disneyland is private property. Six Flags is private property. They can make the rules for who gets to stay and who has to go. So you can't just, a lot of students were saying, well, it's a public place. They can hang out if they want to. No, it's not a public place. It's private property. So it is the First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, but the government is not violating the Constitution because this isn't the government. It is Westfield. It is their private property. They can kick you off if teenagers are just loitering, they're not spending money, you're just hanging out and causing trouble and being loud and rah, 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 then the Valencia Town Center can kick you out. Okay. Scenario four, upset. Okay, so this really comes down to there was some back and forth here. This basically comes down to the F word, right? So you can protest against Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or whoever you want to, but you can't use the F word when you're doing it at school. It's the F word. You can't have any shirt with the F word on it at a school. You can't have any shirt with a marijuana leaf or a beer bottle or a naked person. Like there are just some lines that you cannot cross when it comes to a school. And that's one of those lines that you can't cross. So if Ms. August dress codes you for a shirt with the F word on it, regardless of whether you think it's political speech or not, you could wear a shirt that says, I disagree with Joe Biden. I disagree with Donald Trump. So-and-so is a lousy president. You can have that. That's political speech. But the moment it has the F word, then the school can dress code you. It is the First Amendment, and true, it is political speech, but they can limit the F word. Okay, going on to the back page now. Public school. Oh, okay, so this one, there was some confusion here, and there were a lot of students who stood up for the school in this case and said, well, the principal, these kids have gotten in trouble before. They've gotten, they've had drug or alcohol violations in the past. No, if I were an attorney, and if you have a parent or a family member who's an attorney and you think that this is not the case, then you can, argue it with me. But I would argue that the principal is going too far. This is what's called a sweep search. When you go into Infinite Campus and you pull up the records of every kid who has ever had a drug or alcohol violation, that is going too far. Those kids should not be judged based on their past record, right? Does that make sense? So in other words, if a teacher is like, I think this kid smells like weed. Okay, that's reasonable suspicion. Then that kid can be searched. Their backpack can be searched. But if you just go in and like every kid who has a rap sheet, every kid who's gotten in trouble in the past, this search is just too broad to conduct without a warrant. So it's a sweep search. It's not allowable. No probable cause. There's no search warrant. The principal is violating the Constitution. We say the government because it's a public school, right? Principal representing the government in this case. And it's Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure. Scenario 6. Oh, this is eminent domain. Basically, this came down to we went over this multiple times in multiple classroom scenarios. We were talking about this. We talked about the Walmart situation in class where this was actually a real case in Connecticut where they bulldozed an apartment building because it was kind of run down so that they could make way for a brand new Walmart. This is a principle called eminent domain. And the Constitution doesn't actually use the term eminent domain, but it's this principle that the government can take land for the public good. Some of you may have accidentally put like 10th Amendment or 9th Amendment. It's not. It's the Fifth Amendment. It's one of the last parts of the Fifth Amendment. So in this case, the government is not violating the Constitution. If the government can demonstrate that it is for the public good, you're building a public park, or you're building a road, or building a school, or whatever the case may be, then the government can force you to move. They must pay you fair market value for your property. But yes, the government can kick you out of your house if the land is being used for the public good. So that is the answer to number 6. Number 7, 23-year-old Connor. Oh, okay. So this comes down to he is... when Connor gets out of the car, he staggers and slurs his speech. I think in the updated language, I also said something about, for those of you who are in periods 4, 5, and 6, you can thank your friends in period 2 because they thought that this was not quite clear. So I did add some updated language basically saying the deputy had strong reason to believe that Connor was under the influence of drugs or alcohol, right? So in that case, the deputy has probable cause because he is, and the reason why the deputy can search the car is Connor is now a danger to himself and to other drivers, right? So if he could potentially kill someone with the substances that he could potentially be under, then that and the swerving, the staggering, the making unsafe lane changes, that is all enough. If I'm an attorney, if I'm representing the government, I'm saying, you know what, that is enough of probable cause that Connor is likely DUI, which means driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So government is not violating Fourth Amendment. It's search and seizure, right? In this case, the police can go into your car if there is probable cause that you are causing, a danger to yourself or others. Okay. Number 8, government this is just double jeopardy, right? So this is basically the principle that No one can be tried for the same crime twice. Here's the thing. If you are the government, if you are a district attorney or the police or whatever, and you don't think that you have enough evidence yet to convict someone, then don't do the trial yet, right? This right here, this is an argument for good police work. And good police, we have a lot of good police out there. Good police know that they're not going to get a conviction if they don't have sufficient evidence to prove someone guilty of murder, right? You don't go in and go, well, I think it's good enough. You do your job. Like sometimes murder cases take months or even years to build up because you're trying to find the evidence. And then once you find the evidence, then you go to, then you make the arrest, then you go to, you have the arraignment, you go to trial. Like the burden of proof is on the government to prove, and this is one of the things we built into the Constitution. The burden of proof is on the government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this person was guilty of the crime. So the government, if they're found not guilty, the government can't go back and then, oh, okay, well, I guess now we need to, do a better job of gathering evidence. The government has one shot to prove that the accused is guilty of the crime that they're guilty of. This is why sometimes if someone has committed like multiple crimes, like a serial killer, for example, then the district attorney, if they're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to, I don't know if a jury is going to convict, then they will charge, let's say this person is accused of 10 murders. Then they might take them to trial for 5 murders. And then if for whatever reason the jury finds not guilty, then they still have the other 5. Right, the other 5 victims. So that is not double jeopardy. If they're found not guilty of the first 5 murders, you can still, if there are 5 others, then you can still charge them and arrest them, charge them, and put them on trial for the other 5. Right, if that makes sense. So, but you can't be tried for the same crime twice. No double jeopardy. 5th Amendment. All right, scenario 9. Cheerleader at a public school. This actually happened. This was a case from just a couple of years ago. So cheerleader gets upset because she gets put on the JV cheer squad. If you know anything about high school cheer, I taught high school for many years. There is in some schools they're all combined, but in a lot of schools in Santa Clarita here, I think we have like the freshmen and JV. I think they're now combined, and then you have varsity, right? So varsity is mostly like juniors and seniors, the elite, the best cheerleaders at your school. And then, if you're still kind of working on it, up and coming freshman cheer, JV cheer, junior varsity, or sometimes those 2 teams are combined. But the point is, this girl was upset because she wanted to make it to varsity and she was only put on the JV team. And so after school, she goes on Snapchat, rah, 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 hate the school, F you, you're stupid, I hate you, hate the cheer coach, hate the administration, blah, 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 blah. And so they're like, okay, fine. Well, if you're upset about it, then you're just not going to be a cheerleader at all. And they could kick her out of cheerleading altogether. She's not on the varsity. She's not on the JV, nothing. And they said they could do this because she's being disruptive. She's being disrespectful and disruptive. She said a lot of really horrible things. But here's the thing. First of all, some of you in your responses said, well, this could be, this could be disruptive. This could be dangerous. And see, here's the thing. If it's after school, but if it's after school, like, hey, I'm going to plant an explosive in the science building, then that is not free speech, right? That's dangerous. People could get hurt. So that is not protected. If you're ranting after school, F bombs, blah, 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 F this, F that, hate the school, hate my teachers, you can't get punished for that because that is your free speech. There's nothing threatening. She wasn't threatening anybody. She wasn't like, hey, the cheer coach, I hate the cheer coach, F the cheer coach, I'm going to stab the cheer coach. She did not say that. She was just upset and she's just like, F them, I hate them, they're stupid, blah, blah, blah. So that's the difference. If it's off campus and it's not threatening, then it's your free speech rights. Now, if she had done this on campus, right? If she is using school hours to be disruptive, to be dropping F-bombs and all this, then it's the school's responsibility, and then she could be punished for that. But it happened completely after school. It was not threatening. Government is violating. It was her First Amendment rights. She has the right to rant, just like you have the right to rant. Just don't be threatening. And, try to be nice if you can. But you have the right to free speech in this case, just like she did. And finally, scenario number 10, public high school principal removed 2 articles from the school newspaper. Okay, so This is a really close one because I keep telling you that student journalists have free speech rights, which they do. And I think if this case, so I did some deeper diving, and it turns out that in the Hazelwood case, the Supreme Court in 1988 actually sided with the school. They said, you know what? Yep, teen pregnancy and divorce, too controversial for high school. Now, come on, in 2024, I think that if student media were to discuss topics like teen pregnancy, I mean, yeah, it's controversial, but it happens. I think it's topical. So I feel like a 2024 court might decide differently, but back in the 1980s, they sided with the school district and said, you know what, school principals, administration, they can limit speech if they think that it is too disruptive or just not appropriate. Now, should we be talking about teen pregnancy in a middle school setting? I think that's it. But high school kids get pregnant. So I feel like if I were on the Supreme Court, I would have decided that the principal was going too far. But I am not a Supreme Court justice. So in 1988, the Supreme Court said that the principal had the right to do it. For this one, scenario 10, as long as you gave me a good explanation, because again, I've been talking to you so much about student rights, then whether you said this or this, I should have given you full credit for it. Okay, well, that's the explanation. Again, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much. And I will tell you this, if you think that you are right, if you think that you can make an argument, then I would love to hear it. So talk to me in person, please. Don't email me. Talk to me in person. Advocate for yourself. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.